Good afternoon or good evening, football fans. Big Al here on this Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. And this is a look at the entire 2025 schedule in the National Football League. We will start with the preseason games and then we'll go through all 18 regular season weeks. And then we'll take a look at the playoffs and when they begin. As you know, the NFL schedule was released last month, and I'm sorry I've been holding off on making this video, but I'm finally gonna do it today. So again, this is the entire 2025 and 2026 schedule, starting in the preseason and going all the way till week 18, and I'll tell you when the playoffs will begin as well. So, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, and get notified every time I go live, and off we go with the 2025-2026 NFL schedule. And we will start with the Hall of Fame game, which will take place on Thursday, July 31st at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, with the Detroit Lions facing off with the Los Angeles Chargers. And I see Karmveer Singh has joined us. What's up, Karmveer? And that game officially begins the preseason. The first full week of preseason play begins on Thursday, August 7th with 3 games. The Colts face the Ravens at 7 Eastern, followed by the Bengals and Eagles at 7:30. And the Raiders and Seahawks at 10 Eastern Time. They'll have 3 more games on Friday, August 8th. The Lions take on the Falcons, and the Browns face off with the Panthers, both at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then the Commanders battle the Patriots at 7:30. Full slate of action on Saturday, August 9th. Beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern with the New York Giants visiting the Buffalo Bills. Then at 4 p.m. it's the Texans at the Vikings. 2 games at 7 p.m. Eastern. The Cowboys visit the Rams, and the Steelers face off with the Jaguars. At 7:30 Eastern Time on August 9th, the Titans face off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then you'll have 2 games at 8 p.m. Eastern. The Chiefs visit the Cardinals, and the Jets face off with the Packers. Then at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, the Denver Broncos battle the San Francisco 49ers. And then you'll have 2 games on Sunday, August 10th. The Miami Dolphins visit the Chicago Bears at 1 p.m. Eastern. And the New Orleans Saints face off with the LA Chargers at 4:05 Eastern Time. Alright, week 2 of the preseason begins on Friday, August 15th with 2 games. At 7 p.m. Eastern, the Tennessee Titans battle the Atlanta Falcons. And then at 10 p.m. Eastern, it's the Kansas City Chiefs at the Seattle Seahawks. Then you'll have a host of games on Saturday, August 16th, including the Miami Dolphins at the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers at the Indianapolis Colts, the New England Patriots visiting the Minnesota Vikings, the Cleveland Browns and the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Carolina Panthers against the Houston Texans. All 5 of those games start at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Then at 4 p.m. Eastern, it's the San Francisco 49ers at the Las Vegas Raiders. Then at 7 p.m. Eastern, you'll have 4 games, including the Baltimore Ravens at the Dallas Cowboys, the Los Angeles Chargers battling the Los Angeles Rams in the Battle of the City of Angels, and then you'll have the Battle of New York going on at the same time as the New York Jets face the New York Giants. Giants are the designated home team. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time on August 16th, the Arizona Cardinals visit the Denver Broncos. You'll have two games on Sunday, August 17th. The Jacksonville Jaguars battle the New Orleans Saints at 1 p.m. Eastern. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern, the Buffalo Bills face off with the Chicago Bears. And week 2 of the preseason wraps up on Monday, August 18th, with the Cincinnati Bengals at the Washington Commanders. And then the final week of preseason, week number 3, begins on Thursday, August 21st, with a couple games. The Pittsburgh Steelers visit the Carolina Panthers at 7 p.m. The New England Patriots battle the New York Giants at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then you'll have 4 games on Friday, August 22nd at 7:30 Eastern. It's the Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Jets. Then at 8 p.m. Eastern, you'll have a couple games, including the Minnesota Vikings at the Tennessee Titans and the Atlanta Falcons at the Dallas Cowboys. And then at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time, the Chicago Bears face off with the Kansas City Chiefs. The remainder of the games are on Saturday, August 23rd, beginning at 12 noon Eastern, with the Baltimore Ravens visiting the Washington Commanders. Then you'll have 4 games at 1 p.m. Eastern, including the Houston Texans at the Detroit Lions. Excuse me. Then it's the Indianapolis Colts at the Cincinnati Bengals, the Los Angeles Rams at the Cleveland Browns, and the Denver Broncos at the New Orleans Saints. At 4 p.m. Eastern on August 23rd, the Seattle Seahawks face off with the Green Bay Packers. Then at 7 p.m. Eastern, the Jacksonville Jaguars visit the Miami Dolphins, followed by the Buffalo Bills and Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 7:30 Eastern Time. An hour later at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, it's the LA Chargers at the San Francisco 49ers. And the final preseason game is Saturday, August 23rd at 10 p.m. Eastern as the Las Vegas Raiders face the Arizona Cardinals. And then the regular season begins on Thursday, September 4th. Week 1 kicks off with an NFC Eastern Division battle as the Philadelphia Eagles begin defense of their Super Bowl championship, hosting the arch-rival Dallas Cowboys in the NFL kickoff game at 8:20 p.m. Eastern, and that will be on NBC as always. Then you have a Friday game on September 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, as the Kansas City Chiefs face the Los Angeles Chargers, and that's being played in Brazil. That game will be seen on YouTube on September 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern, with the Chargers being the designated home team. Then the first full Sunday of the season is September 7th. You'll have 8 games in the early portion of the schedule at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, including the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons, the Battle of Ohio with the Cincinnati Bengals visiting the Cleveland Browns. You've got the Miami Dolphins at the Indianapolis Colts, the Las Vegas Raiders at the New England Patriots, the Arizona Cardinals at the New Orleans Saints. The Pittsburgh Steelers hit the road to face the New York Jets in what is now being known as the Aaron Rodgers Revenge Game. Also at 1 p.m. Eastern, the New York Giants visit the Washington Commanders, and the Carolina Panthers take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then you'll have 4 games in the late portion of the schedule on September 7th. At 4:05 Eastern Time, you'll have the Tennessee Titans at the Denver Broncos and the San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. At 4:25 p.m. Eastern, the Detroit Lions visit the Green Bay Packers, and the Houston Texans play the Los Angeles Rams. Sunday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. Eastern has the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills in a rematch of the playoffs last year. And Week 1 wraps up on Monday, September 8th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern with the Minnesota Vikings visiting the Chicago Bears. Week 2 begins on Thursday, September 11th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern as the Washington Commanders visit the Green Bay Packers, and that will be on Prime. All Thursday night games will be on Prime Video with the exception of the kickoff weekend and the third game of the Thanksgiving triple header. Then on Sunday, September 14th, you'll have 9 games start at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. The Jacksonville Jaguars are at the Cincinnati Bengals. The New York Giants face off with the Dallas Cowboys. The Chicago Bears and their new head coach Ben Johnson head into Ford Field to face the Detroit Lions, Johnson's former employer. Then you got the Los Angeles Rams at the Tennessee Titans, the New England Patriots at the Miami Dolphins, the San Francisco 49ers at the New Orleans Saints, the Buffalo Bills battle the New York Jets. Then you have the Seattle Seahawks facing off with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. And then you'll have 3 games in the late window on September 14th, including the Denver Broncos at the Indianapolis Colts and the Carolina Panthers at the Arizona Cardinals. Both games will kick off at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. And then in the National 425 doubleheader, which will be on Fox that week, it's a rematch of Super Bowl 59 as the Philadelphia Eagles battle the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. Sunday Night Football this week has the Atlanta Falcons visiting the Minnesota Vikings. And then you'll have 2 Monday night games on the schedule. At 7 p.m. Eastern, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Houston Texans. And then at 10 p.m. Eastern, it's the LA Chargers at the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, one game will be on ABC. I think that's going to be the Tampa Bay-Houston game. The other will be on ESPN with the Chargers and Raiders on September 15th. Moving to Week 3. Starting off on Thursday Night Football on September 18th with an AFC East battle between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. And then you'll have 9 games kicking off early on Sunday, September 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, including the Green Bay Packers at the Cleveland Browns, the Indianapolis Colts at the Tennessee Titans, the Cincinnati Bengals at the Minnesota Vikings, the Pittsburgh Steelers and New England Patriots, the LA Rams, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this is a rematch of the NFC divisional playoff from last January. Also, on the early window, you have the Jets at the Buccaneers. The Raiders visit the Commanders. The Falcons fly to Carolina to face the Panthers. And in the AFC South, it's the Texans at the Jaguars. And then you'll have 4 games in the late window. Starting at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, the Denver Broncos face the LA Chargers. and the New Orleans Saints battle the Seattle Seahawks. At 4:25 p.m. Eastern, the Dallas Cowboys visit the Chicago Bears, and the Arizona Cardinals take on the San Francisco 49ers. On Sunday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. Eastern, the Kansas City Chiefs visit the New York Giants. And on Monday Night Football on September 22nd, it's the Detroit Lions at the Baltimore Ravens in a possible Super Bowl preview early in the season. Week 4 kicks off with Thursday Night Football on September 25th with an NFC West Division showdown as the Seattle Seahawks visit the Arizona Cardinals. And then you'll have your first of 7 international games on Sunday, September 28th, beginning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 a.m. Pacific, as the Minnesota Vikings play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then the early window on September 28th will have 7 games, including the Washington Commanders at the Atlanta Falcons, the New Orleans Saints at the Buffalo Bills, the Cleveland Browns at the Detroit Lions, the Carolina Panthers visit the New England Patriots in Foxborough. Then you got the LA Chargers at the New York Giants, the Philadelphia Eagles at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Tennessee Titans visiting the Houston Texans. And then you'll have 4 more late games that week. Starting at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, the Indianapolis Colts travel west to face the LA Rams, and the Jacksonville Jaguars battle the San Francisco 49ers. Then at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, it's Lamar versus Mahomes once again as the Baltimore Ravens visit the Kansas City Chiefs. Now this was the kickoff game a year ago. The other 4:25 game is the Chicago Bears at the Las Vegas Raiders. On Sunday Night Football, it's the Green Bay Packers at the Dallas Cowboys, one of the biggest rivalries in the NFC. And then you'll have another Monday night doubleheader on September 29th. The New York Jets face the Miami Dolphins at 7:15 p.m. Eastern. And the Cincinnati Bengals travel to Denver to battle Bo Nix and the Broncos at 8:15 Eastern Time. Week 5 begins on Thursday Night Football on Thursday, October 2nd, with a battle in the NFC West as the San Francisco 49ers visit the Los Angeles Rams. Then you'll have another international game on Sunday, October 5th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern with the Minnesota Vikings once again, this time playing the Cleveland Browns. Then you'll have 6 early games on October 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, including the Las Vegas Raiders at the Indianapolis Colts, the New York Giants at the New Orleans Saints, the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Jets, the Denver Broncos at the Philadelphia Eagles, the Miami Dolphins visiting the Carolina Panthers, and the Houston Texans taking on the Baltimore Ravens. You'll have 4 late games on October 5th, beginning at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time with the Tennessee Titans at the Arizona Cardinals, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Seattle Seahawks. Then at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, it's the Detroit Lions at the Cincinnati Bengals. Looks like a pretty good matchup there with Jared Goff versus Joe Burrow. And then you have the Washington Commanders visiting the LA Chargers. On Sunday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. Eastern, it's the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. And on Monday Night Football, the Kansas City Chiefs visit the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Atlanta Falcons, Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, and Pittsburgh Steelers will be off in Week 5. Then we go to week number 6, which begins with an NFC Eastern Division battle on Thursday Night Football, October 9th, with the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles headed into the Meadowlands to face the New York Giants at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. And then you've got another international game on October 12th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, the Denver Broncos at the New York Jets. Anna Rodriguez is in the house. Hi, Anna. How are you? And then later that day, you'll have 7 games kicking off at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. The Arizona Cardinals visit the Indianapolis Colts. You got the LA Chargers going cross-country to face Tua and the Miami Dolphins. An AFC Northern Division battle between the Cleveland Browns and Pittsburgh Steelers. Also, you have the San Francisco 49ers in Tampa to face the Bucks. The Dallas Cowboys head to Charlotte to play the Carolina Panthers, I almost said Hurricanes. Then you have and then you'll have 2 more West Coast teams traveling east as the Seattle Seahawks play the Jaguars in Jacksonville, and the LA Rams play Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in Baltimore. Then you'll have 3 games in the late window beginning at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time. The Tennessee Titans visit the Las Vegas Raiders. And then at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, the Cincinnati Bengals go to Lambeau Field to face the Green Bay Packers, and the New England Patriots take on the New Orleans Saints. On Sunday Night Football, another possible Super Bowl preview as the Detroit Lions battle the Kansas City Chiefs. These are the 2 teams that had the best record in the NFL in 2024, and they're meeting in Arrowhead once again. And then on Monday, October 13th, they'll have 2 more Monday night games, beginning with the Buffalo Bills at the Atlanta Falcons at 7:15 p.m. Eastern. And then you have the Chicago Bears at the Washington Commanders an hour later at 8:15 Eastern. The Houston Texans and Minnesota Vikings will be off in Week 6. Moving to week number 7. On Thursday, October 16th, the Pittsburgh Steelers visit the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday Night Football. And in another international game on Sunday, October 19th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern between the LA Rams and the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's going to be played in London. As you know, the Jaguars always play one home game in London every year. I'm doing well, Anna. How are you doing? And then back stateside, you'll have 6 games at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. The New Orleans Saints visit the Chicago Bears. The Miami Dolphins are at the Cleveland Browns. Then it's the New England Patriots at the Tennessee Titans. The Las Vegas Raiders at the Kansas City Chiefs. Always a big divisional clash in the AFC West when these 2 get together. The Philadelphia Eagles visit the Minnesota Vikings, and it'll be their first, and I think this is their first game back in Minnesota since winning Super Bowl 52. I am not certain about that, but that's happening on October 19th, as well as the Carolina Panthers at the New York Jets. And then you'll have 4 late games. At 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, the New York Giants visit the Denver Broncos, and the Indianapolis Colts go back to LA once again to play the Chargers. Then at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, it's the Washington Commanders at the Dallas Cowboys, and the Green Bay Packers at the Arizona Cardinals. On Sunday Night Football, it's the Atlanta Falcons at the San Francisco 49ers at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. And then you'll have another Monday Night Football doubleheader on October 20th. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers face off with the Detroit Lions at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then at 10 p.m. Eastern, it's the Houston Texans at the Seattle Seahawks. And we will not be seeing Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen play in Week 7, as the Ravens and Bills are both off. Moving on to week number 8. It starts on Thursday, October 23rd, as the Minnesota Vikings visit the LA Chargers on Thursday Night Football at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Then on Sunday, October 26th, you've got 7 early games. The Miami Dolphins at the Atlanta Falcons, the New York Jets at the Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns at the New England Patriots, the New York Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles, the Buffalo Bills at the Carolina Panthers, the Chicago Bears at the Baltimore Ravens, and the San Francisco 49ers at the Houston Texans in a DeMeco Ryans revenge spot. Ryans is now the head coach in Houston. He was a former coordinator with the 49ers before taking the Houston job a couple years back. Then you have 3 late games after that. At 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers battle the New Orleans Saints in an NFC South showdown. Then at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time, the Denver Broncos host the Dallas Cowboys, and the Indianapolis Colts are at home hosting the Tennessee Titans. On Sunday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. Eastern, it's the Green Bay Packers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, 2 of the model franchises in the NFL, going at it in the Steel City. And on Monday Night Football on October 27th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern, the Washington Commanders visit the Kansas City Chiefs. This is Mahomes versus Daniels. And we'll have 6 teams off in Week 8, including the Arizona Cardinals, Detroit Lions, Jacksonville Jaguars, Las Vegas Raiders, Los Angeles Rams, and Seattle Seahawks. Moving on to Week 9. It all begins on the night before Thanksgiving, or rather the night before Halloween, Thursday, October 30th, as Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens clash with Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. Then on Sunday, November 2nd, you'll have 8 games in the early window, including the Chicago Bears at the Cincinnati Bengals, the Minnesota Vikings at the Detroit Lions, the Carolina Panthers at the Green Bay Packers, the Los Angeles Chargers visit Nashville to play the Tennessee Titans. Then it's the Atlanta Falcons at the New England Patriots, the San Francisco 49ers at the New York Giants, the Indianapolis Colts at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Denver Broncos visiting the Houston Texans. And then you'll have 3 late games. 2 of them start at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. You have the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Las Vegas Raiders, and the New Orleans Saints at the LA Rams. And then the whole country will be watching the Kansas City Chiefs face off with the Buffalo Bills at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, as Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen write another chapter in their huge rivalry. On Sunday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time, the Seahawks visit the Commanders in D.C. And on Monday Night Football on November 3rd, Dallas area native Kyler Murray leads his Arizona Cardinals into Jerry World to face Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, and that's at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. The Cleveland Browns, New York Jets, Philadelphia Eagles, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers are all off that week. Alright, so we are now halfway through the regular season schedule as we approach Week 10. On Thursday, November 6th, the Las Vegas Raiders visit the Denver Broncos on Thursday Night Football at 8:15 Eastern. We have another international game with the Atlanta Falcons and the Indianapolis Colts at 9:30 a.m. Eastern on November 9th. And later that day, you'll have 7 games in the early portion of the schedule, including the New York Giants at the Chicago Bears, the Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins, the Baltimore Ravens visiting the Minnesota Vikings. You got the Cleveland Browns facing off with the New York Jets at the Meadowlands. The New England Patriots head down to Tampa to face the Bucks. The New Orleans Saints are in Charlotte against the Carolina Panthers. And the Jacksonville Jaguars visit the Houston Texans. And then you'll have 3 late games. Beginning at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, you have the Arizona Cardinals visiting the Seattle Seahawks in an NFC West showdown. And then at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, you have another NFC Western Division showdown between the LA Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. This is being played in Santa Clara. And then the Detroit Lions versus the Washington Commanders in a possible revenge spot for the Lions. Of course, Washington went into Detroit in the playoffs last year and stomped the Lions. This game's being played in our nation's capital on November 9th at 4:25 p.m. Eastern. The Pittsburgh Steelers battle the Chargers on Sunday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Sorry. And then on Monday, November 10th, you've got the Philadelphia Eagles visiting Lambeau Field to face the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. This was the Brazil game in Week 1 last season. The Cincinnati Bengals, Dallas Cowboys, Kansas City Chiefs, and Tennessee Titans are off in Week 10. Moving on to week number 11, we started off on November 13th with an AFC East grudge match as the New York Football Jets visit Foxborough to face the New England Patriots at 8:15 Eastern. And then the last of the international games will take place on Sunday, November 16th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern as the Washington Commanders battle the Miami Dolphins. And then you'll have 7 games in the early window on November 16th, including the Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Buffalo Bills, the Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans, the Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings, the Green Bay Packers at the New York Giants, the Cincinnati Bengals at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Los Angeles Chargers headed back to Florida a second time to face the Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh, it is hot here in Phoenix, Anna. I think it got up to about 113. It's pretty hot out there, and I think it's going to be hotter tomorrow. They're talking about 115 or 116 tomorrow. It's not going to be fun being outside. All right, then you'll have 4 late games on the 16th. Beginning at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, you have the Seattle Seahawks and the LA Rams and the San Francisco 49ers facing off with the Arizona Cardinals in a pair of NFC Western Division showdowns. Then at 4:25 p.m. Eastern on November 16th, you got the Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs visiting the Denver Broncos. Yeah, I'm saying this heat here in Phoenix is no joke. So hot outside, I try to stay in as much as possible. Then we have a big matchup on Sunday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. Eastern as the Detroit Lions battle the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this would have been the NFC Championship last season if the Lions didn't come out flat against the Commanders. So now we're going to get this massive matchup on Sunday Night Football in Week 11. The week wraps up with Monday Night Football on November 17th as the Dallas Cowboys visit the Las Vegas Raiders at 8:15 Eastern. And then you got the Indianapolis Colts and New Orleans Saints both off that week. Moving on to week number 12. It all starts Thursday, November the 20th, as the Buffalo Bills head down to the Space City to face the Houston Texans at 8:15 Eastern on Thursday Night Football. Then on Sunday, November 23rd, you'll have 7 games in the early window, including the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Chicago Bears, the New England Patriots at the Cincinnati Bengals, the New York Giants visiting the Detroit Lions. Then you got the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers, the Seattle Seahawks at the Tennessee Titans, the Indianapolis Colts at the Kansas City Chiefs, and the New York Jets at the Baltimore Ravens. Hey, Joey's in the building. What's cracking, bruh? Alright, 4 games in the late window on November 23rd. You have 2 at 4:05 Eastern Time with the Cleveland Browns at the Las Vegas Raiders and the Jacksonville Jaguars visiting the Arizona Cardinals. Then at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time, you have a couple of divisional matchups. From the NFC East, the Philadelphia Eagles visit Dallas to face the arch-rival Cowboys. And the Atlanta Falcons battle the New Orleans Saints in the NFC South. On Sunday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. Eastern, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers visit the LA Rams. And then on Monday Night Football on November 24th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern, the Carolina Panthers facing off with the San Francisco 49ers. Ah, cool. They have pizza and wings too. That's what's up, Joey. The Denver Broncos, LA Chargers, Miami Dolphins, and Washington Commanders are off in Week 12. And then you come to week number 13. All 32 teams will be playing. It all kicks off on Thanksgiving, Thursday, November 27th. At 1 p.m. Eastern Time, the Detroit Lions host the Green Bay Packers. And then at 4:30 p.m. Eastern is one of the more anticipated games of the 2025 season, as Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs visit Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. And then the Turkey Day tripleheader wraps up at 8:20 p.m. Eastern with an AFC North battle as the Cincinnati Bengals face off with the Baltimore Ravens. Then you got the Black Friday game on November 28th as the Chicago Bears visit the Philadelphia Eagles at 3 p.m. Eastern. That brings us to Sunday, November 30th. You'll have 7 games in the early window, beginning with the San Francisco 49ers at the Cleveland Browns. The Jacksonville Jaguars are in Nashville to face the Tennessee Titans. Then it's the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. The New Orleans Saints at the Miami Dolphins. The Atlanta Falcons at the New York Jets. Then it's the Arizona Cardinals making the cross-country trip to face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And same for the LA Rams as they go to Charlotte to play the Carolina Panthers. And then in the late window, you'll have 3 games. The Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks will face off at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. And then at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, the Buffalo Bills are at the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then you have an AFC Western Division tilt as the Las Vegas Raiders visit the LA Chargers. On Sunday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time, the Denver Broncos head to our nation's capital to face Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. And Week 13 wraps up on Monday, December 1st on Monday Night Football as the New York Giants battle the New England Patriots in Foxborough. All right, week number 14 kicks off with a big NFC matchup on Thursday Night Football on December 4th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern as the Dallas Cowboys visit the Detroit Lions. Hey, thanks for the support there, Joey. Appreciate you, man. And then on Sunday, December 7th, you'll have 8 games in the early window, beginning with the Seattle Seahawks at the Atlanta Falcons. Then you have the Tennessee Titans at the Cleveland Browns. The oldest rivalry in football writes another chapter as the Chicago Bears and Green Bay Packers square off at Lambeau. Then you have the Washington Commanders at the Minnesota Vikings, the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets, the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, followed by the Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the grudge match in the AFC North between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. 3 games in the late window, beginning with the Denver Broncos and Las Vegas Raiders at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Then at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, it's Burrow versus Allen as the Cincinnati Bengals visit the Buffalo Bills. And others will see the Los Angeles Rams battle the Arizona Cardinals in a division clash in the NFC West. On Sunday Night Football, you have the Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs. That's C.J. Stroud versus Patrick Mahomes. And on Monday, December 8th, the week wraps up with Nick Sirianni's Philadelphia Eagles visiting Jim Harbaugh's LA Chargers at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. And the last round of bye weeks goes to the Carolina Panthers, New England Patriots, New York Giants, and San Francisco 49ers. So from this point on, every team will play. Beginning in week 15 with an NFC South battle on Thursday Night Football at 8:15 p.m. Eastern on December 11th as the Atlanta Falcons face off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Moving on to Sunday, December 14th, you'll have 8 games in the early window, including the Cleveland Browns at the Chicago Bears, the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Kansas City Chiefs. Then it's the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots, the Washington Commanders at the New York Giants, the Las Vegas Raiders visiting the Philadelphia Eagles. Then you got the New York Jets in Jacksonville against the Jaguars, and the Arizona Cardinals making the trip out to Houston to face C.J. Stroud and the Texans. And then you'll have 5 late games on December 14th, all starting at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, as both CBS and Fox will have doubleheaders that week. You have the Green Bay Packers at the Denver Broncos, the Detroit Lions at the LA Rams, so this is Goff headed back to Los Angeles since the trade with Matthew Stafford. The Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints, the Tennessee Titans at the San Francisco 49ers, and the Indianapolis Colts visiting the Seattle Seahawks. Then you have the Minnesota Vikings and Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. And the week wraps up on December 15th on Monday Night Football as the Miami Dolphins visit the Pittsburgh Steelers. In week 16, it all starts on Thursday, December 18th, with an NFC West battle. The Los Angeles Rams in Seattle against the Seahawks at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. There are 2 games to be announced that'll play on Saturday, the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears, and the Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Commanders. Now, what I meant to say was these two games will be playing on Saturday. We don't know what time these games are, so we'll know that at a later date. Moving to Sunday, December 21st, you will have 7 games on the early schedule. The Buffalo Bills are in Cleveland against the Browns. The LA Chargers visit Dallas to face the Cowboys. Then it's the Kansas City Chiefs at the Tennessee Titans. The New York Jets are in New Orleans to face the Saints. The Giants, meanwhile, are at home hosting the Minnesota Vikings. They have an NFC South battle between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Carolina Panthers. And the New England Patriots visit the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, you'll have 4 games in the late window on December 21st. 2 games start at 4:05 p.m. Eastern, and those are the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Denver Broncos and the Atlanta Falcons visiting the Arizona Cardinals. Then at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, the Pittsburgh Steelers are in Detroit to face the Lions, while the Las Vegas Raiders visit the Houston Texans. On Sunday Night Football, it's the Cincinnati Bengals at the Miami Dolphins at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. And then Week 16 wraps up on December 22nd as the San Francisco 49ers travel to Naptown to face the Indianapolis Colts at 8:15 Eastern on Monday Night Football. Okay, moving to week number 17, and we have 3 games on Christmas Day, December 25th. It all starts at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, as the Dallas Cowboys visit the Washington Commanders. Then at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, it's the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. And on Christmas night at 8:15 p.m. Eastern, the Denver Broncos face off with the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead. Jumping ahead to Sunday, December 28th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You will have 10 early games, if you can believe that. 10. The Arizona Cardinals are in Cincinnati battling the Bengals. The Baltimore Ravens are at the Green Bay Packers. The New York Giants visit the Las Vegas Raiders. The Houston Texans are at the LA Chargers. The Seattle Seahawks battle the Carolina Panthers. The Pittsburgh Steelers face off with the Cleveland Browns. Then it's the New Orleans Saints at the Tennessee Titans. The Jacksonville Jaguars at the Indianapolis Colts. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Miami Dolphins. And then you have an AFC East battle with the New England Patriots at the New York Jets. Only 1 game in the late window at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, and it's a rather big one. Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles make the trek to Orchard Park to face Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills in what could be another possible Super Bowl 60 preview. Sunday Night Football has the Chicago Bears at the San Francisco 49ers at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. And then on Monday Night Football on December 29th, and I think this is the season finale for Monday Night Football, the Los Angeles Rams are in Atlanta to face the Falcons at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Now we come up to Week 18. Again, both CBS and Fox will have doubleheaders. The games are all set, but the times are not determined. That probably won't be determined until the end of Week 17. So the Sports Alerts app has all 16 of these games beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern, but again, times are subject to change. And there will be 2 games on Saturday, potentially, in Week 18. So the division matchups for Week 18, You have the New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons, the New York Jets at the Buffalo Bills, the Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears, the Cleveland Browns at the Cincinnati Bengals, the Los Angeles Chargers at the Denver Broncos, the Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders, the Arizona Cardinals at the Los Angeles Rams, the Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Vikings, the Miami Dolphins at the New England Patriots, the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Giants, the Washington Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Seattle Seahawks visit the San Francisco 49ers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers host the Carolina Panthers, then you got the Tennessee Titans at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Indianapolis Colts at the Houston Texans. Again, 2 of these games will be playing on Saturday, January 3rd, and the remainder of the schedule will be played on Sunday, January 4th, and potentially one of these games will be flexed in to Sunday Night Football. And then the playoffs begin on Saturday, January 10th, with Super Wildcard Weekend. You'll have 6 games across 3 days, starting Saturday, January 10th, and lasting until Monday, January 12th. The divisional round is January 17th and 18th. The conference championship games, or Championship Sunday, will take place on January 25th. And then it all wraps up with Super Bowl 60 on Sunday, February 8th. And that is a look at the 2025-2026 NFL schedule, starting with the Hall of Fame game, going all through the regular season, and then the dates for the playoffs. Ooh, what's for dinner? I am having meatloaf tonight with some corn and potatoes. That's what I'm having tonight. Alright, so that is the schedule. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching, and as always, enjoy the pigskin. Peace out.